Hey everybody, welcome to the Bradenton Blitz. I know you missed us last week, but we had a little bit of a break because yours truly decided to bust his ankle, and it's sprained at the moment and has been for the last 10 days, so couldn't quite put together a Blitz video last week for you guys, but we're back better than ever. Varsity 24/7 is the app. You guys know that by now. Bradenton.com/sports is the website for all the latest and greatest on high school news and beyond here in Manatee County for your sports thirst. So David Wilson is here with me as always. I'm Jason Dill. Let's get that formality out of the way. But David, we got a chance to see some boys basketball and girls basketball kind of winding down. The season is now in full playoff mode, and we have two boys basketball teams still remaining, and we have one girls basketball team still remaining. Lakewood Ranch is the common denominator. The boys and girls teams are both still in the mix. The girls going into the Final Four this weekend for the first time ever, and of course, first time in program history, the boys basketball team making it to a region final, and Bradenton Christian's also in the boys region final. Teams have a chance to punch their ticket to the Final Four if they can get by their opponents on Friday.
We'll start with Lakewood Ranch girls, I guess, because they're the ones in the state Final Four. They go Friday. If they win, they play Saturday up in Lakeland. This is a team we knew had a chance to go far this year. They have LaDeja Williams, who's one of the best juniors in the state, one of the better juniors in the entire country. But they've got good shooters around her. They've got a system that works to her strengths. She can post up and create from inside. She's capable on the wing. She's really sort of almost a utility player for as good as she is. She can play. She's listed I think as a small forward and a center, which isn't something you always see. So she can fill a variety of roles, and the team can kind of mold around her, and it's helped them become one of the better teams in the state this season.
Yeah, definitely. And I've gotten a chance to see the Lakewood Range boys team play the last two games, and the secret to them is depth.
Yeah, they've got nine players that they feel really comfortable using.
Yeah, they rotate guys in and out. Jeremy Schiller is a great coach. He's been able to kind of just pick and choose when he has to put those guys in to kind of give a new look. Look, they shot 7 of 30 from three-point range last night. They weren't hitting very many shots, but they held Riverdale from Fort Myers to about 25% shooting from the floor. When you do that, it's a recipe for success. He wasn't as happy or as pleased with his defense against Northport in the region quarterfinals, but they were clearly the better team. They kind of went on a run, had a big lead, saw it drop down to 11 at one point, started making their free throws late in the game. Riverdale just didn't have enough shooters on the floor to come back, so they're moving ahead, but depth is definitely the key, and it's kind of the same thing at Bradenton Christian. They have a lot of depth, and you've been able to see them in a district championship game, and of course last night in the rematch against Sarasota Christian.
It's a little bit different, whereas Lakewood Ranch has the depth, but it's all young players. It's all sophomores and juniors that kind of carry the load for them. I think they only have one senior on the roster. Bradenton Christian is a really senior-laden team. They start 5 seniors. They've got the 7 seniors that play a big role. But they're kind of similar. They got a lot of guys who can shoot, a lot of guys who can handle the ball. They run a really high-pressure defense. They like to get out in transition. They're a little bit better down low, where they have a 6'8" center. But otherwise, when you can spread the floor with guards like that and get out in transition, knock down shots, have everyone capable of hitting from 20 feet out, it really, you don't necessarily need the one star to carry the load.
And it also shows you that basketball is a team game. It doesn't matter. You could have the best individual player on the court, and your team might not necessarily get the farthest and win a state championship. So moving ahead, spring training is in the air. We have spring in the air now. We have to talk about it. Pittsburgh Pirates, they start their official first workout is Friday, as pitchers and catchers are reporting this week. And we have their first official team with position players joining the fray next week for workouts over at Pirate City before they make the transition to McKechnie Field, where they'll start playing games, beginning with at the end of the month, the annual black and gold exhibition game. Yeah, for some reason I was losing my train of thought on the colors there. But yeah, black and gold. They play that game, and then they start the spring training schedule through the month of March at McKechnie Field. So fans can obviously line up and try to get autographs from players, whether it's at the workouts at Pirate City or at McKechnie Field during the games, before the games. And catcher's favorite stars, Andrew McCutcheon, leading a team that's made some moves, and Bucktober, as they like to call it, when it comes to the playoffs. They've made it the last few years, but just have not gotten over the hump. Got through the wild card playoff game their first year,
right.
3 years ago, and then the last 2 years they ran into Madison Bumgarner en route to the Giants winning the World Series. He was a buzzsaw. Nobody could touch him in the playoffs. Last year they couldn't get past the playoff game against the Chicago Cubs, and the Cubs ended up getting to the NLCS, where they fell to the Mets, who ended up losing in the World Series to the Royals. So for the Pirates, it's at this point, when you've gotten to the playoffs 3 straight years, it's now an expected thing. Before, it was just kind of like, okay, they had this long losing streak. They hadn't been in the playoffs since before you were born, probably. And before any of us really remember much, I should say. And, now it's becoming a regular thing.
Yeah, and strangely, one of the big stories again this year is going to be Jung Ho Kang, who was a big story last year, coming back from an injury this year. He's actually already down here working out. They kind of expect he'll be ready for the start of the season, or at least really close to the start of the season. So, I'm sure people will be keeping tabs on his injuries, and his recovery from the injury throughout this spring. Probably mostly over at Pirate City rather than at McKechnie Field, but it really creates a full experience down here rather than just going to the games at McKechnie.
Okay, and finally, we have to touch on the fact that we have a big soccer tournament starting up on Saturday, which is the Suncoast Pro Classic. It's an annual thing over at IMG Academy. There's only one MLS team, though, this year compared to in the past, and that's partly due because of the fact that they have ongoing construction going on with their soccer fields, trying to get those in shape. So a lot of the MLS teams and a lot of the other clubs that were here last year saw kind of the potential of where IMG could be with what they want to do, because they don't just use it to play games, obviously on the stadium, which is always in great shape, but they want to use it for training during the week too. And so they need, you don't really want to be training as a professional around a tractor trailer that's going around doing stuff on the fields, and it gets chewed up a little bit. So it's a smaller field, only 4 teams. You have a HB Coach, you have a team out of Iceland, you have FC Cincinnati, which is a startup new team in the USL Pro, and then you have the one MLS team, New York City FC. Though they did get the big time,
right? That's
with
the
David Villa,
star-laden team,
right? David Villa, well-known star from Spain. Frank Lampard, well-known English star, and of course Andrea Pirlo, so big-time Italian star. So if you've been watching the World Cup for the last few cycles, you've seen these guys play, and obviously it's a chance to kind of see them in action in Bradenton, Florida, where you probably aren't going to see them very often.
Yeah, and this is Frank Lampard, sort of his retirement tour getting started. So
yeah, there is that too. So but anyway, I did make a knock on you for you being young. I'll make a knock on myself for being old. So folks, remember, always be careful with your ankles when you're walking around, jumping around. If you're playing sports, that kind of is what happened to me. So be careful out there. And as always, Varsity 24/7 is the app. You can find it on the Google Play Store for Android users, iTunes Store for your iPhone users, Bradenton.com/sports for all the high school, college, and professional sports in Manatee County and beyond. This is Jason Dill for David Wilson, and as always, we'll catch you on the flip side.